When it comes to predicting natural disasters, we humans aren't always the best at what we do. In fact, we often don't know an earthquake or tsunami is coming until it's too late to escape. But animals seem to have a sixth sense when it comes to sensing danger. They often flee the area before disaster strikes. So could our animal friends be the key to predicting the next big disaster? Let's dig into the science to find out how animals can warn us about earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and more. There are lots of anecdotes about animals doing strange things before a disaster. For example, in the small town of Hojabachu in Romania, dogs, cats, cows, and horses were all seen acting strangely, like running frantically in circles or making loud noises right before a tornado touched down in 2008. But just because we hear these stories doesn't mean they're true. It could just be that we remember the times when animals supposedly predicted a disaster, and not the times when they didn't. This is called the survivorship bias. Just because a few animals survived by fleeing an area doesn't mean that they actually predicted the disaster, because some of them might have just been lucky. But even with this bias, some animals seem to have predicted disasters pretty accurately. Like in the town of Chemoli in India, landslide destroyed an entire village in 1991. But before this happened, local residents reported that elephants had been acting strangely for days, including trumpeting loudly and continuously, shaking the ground with their feet and refusing to eat or drink. Elephants are sensitive to even the smallest vibrations in the ground, which may be why they were able to sense the impending landslide. And when scientists analyzed the landslide, they found that it had been moving slowly for at least 2 weeks before it suddenly gave way, which would have given the elephants plenty of time to sense the danger and escape. But elephants aren't the only animals that can sense danger through vibrations. Some animals can also detect changes in the electric fields around them, which change before a tsunami hits. A study published in 2012 reported that 90 minutes before a tsunami struck northern Thailand, dogs started barking, cats meowed incessantly, birds flew frantically around, and monkeys screamed in terror. Animals probably noticed changes in the electromagnetic field caused by the shifting of the Earth's tectonic plates. And there are also reports of fish leaping out of the water or swimming frantically in circles before a tsunami hits. Some scientists think that fish can sense pressure changes in the water that are caused by the displacement of water from the initial wave. Other scientists think that they're picking up on underwater earthquakes that happen before tsunamis. But no matter what their superpower is, animals can't always save themselves from the disasters they sense. After the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami, for example, many marine animals like coral reef fish and sea turtles were killed. Sci researchers have been trying to figure out whether animals could help us predict less obvious disasters like earthquakes. Anecdotally, people report that rats flee their homes, snakes leave their burrows, birds abandon their nests, and domestic animals become agitated before an earthquake hits. Some studies have even found correlations between animal behavior and earthquakes. For example, in July of 2009, magnitude 7.1 earthquake struck between the towns of L'Aquila and Onano in Italy. Researchers from the University of Regia interviewed 130 residents who owned 700 pets, and they found that the day before the earthquake, significantly more pets than normal exhibited unusual behaviors such as pacing restlessness, distress, vocalizations, anxiety increased, desire for interaction with their owners, and attempts to leave the house or apartment. Although this was an observational study, so the results are somewhat subjective, it still suggests that animals can sense earthquakes before they happen. Other studies have also found correlations between animal behavior and earthquakes. But the jury is still out on whether animals can predict volcanic eruptions. Anecdotal evidence suggests that they can. During the 1980 eruption of Mount St. Helens in Washington state, for example, a zookeeper reported that a nearby volcano emitted a large amount of gas and that the animals became agitated and refused to leave their shelters. The animals must have sensed the danger because they took cover. Fortunately, a mudslide from the eruption ended up killing most of the animals in the zoo. But in some cases, animals' reactions to volcanoes can save their lives. Before the 1991 eruption of Mount Pinatubo in the Philippines, people reported seeing thousands of flamingos flying away from the volcano, and a troop of endangered mountain gorillas also fled their homes before the nearby Mount Basoka volcano erupted. Could these animals' reactions have saved their lives? Maybe, But without data on what the animals were actually sensing and why, it's hard to say. Even though we still have a lot to learn about what it is exactly that animals are sensing before a disaster, one thing is clear: they can sometimes predict natural disasters with an accuracy that would put some forecasters to shame. So if you see a bunch of dogs running for the hills, maybe it's a good idea to follow their lead. Thanks for watching this episode of Sea Show, and thanks especially to our supporters who make it possible for us to explore the science of the world around us. If you would like to support Sea Show, you can go to our support page to learn more.